Karen, Carrie, Kim, and families. Today is Wednesday, June 5th, 1968. This morning, reveille formation has now been changed, starting this morning and every morning to 6 o'clock in the morning, so I'm a little bit tired tonight. It's been a long day for me. I haven't done a whole lot, but it has nevertheless been a long day. This morning I was quite surprised when the mail came in this morning. I received a real nice package from Karen, and it contained my birthday presents and my Father's Day present, and everything was wrapped up just beautifully. I appreciate getting the Bermuda shorts because it has today was really the first really warm day that we have had, and the nights are beginning to not cool off as much as they usually do. So consequently, I've got one pair of Bermuda shorts here, and this pair that Karen sent me will come in quite handy. This should be enough to carry me through the summer. Also, the belt that I did have with my suit broke, so the belt that I got from Karen, of course, will come in handy. And the little baked clay impressions of Carrie and Kim's hands, I'm going to mount those on the wall this evening. I haven't done too much as I just got up from supper. It's only about 6 o'clock now. I was kind of tired. I just laid down for a while and read the paper, taking it easy. It's my day off in the evening anyway. I still had to work this morning and this afternoon, but I haven't done too much since Monday. I've been straightening up my own files, and that is I haven't since I took over command of the company, and that I had been mostly up in the orderly room and had neglected my duties down at the supply point. But of course down there we have an accountable officer, and for a while he had not been putting in his 8 hours at work and that, and I frankly told him that since Bill was going on leave and that I'd have to depend on this fellow a little bit more on that, and he's been there every day, and he's been doing the work that I normally do, so there wasn't a whole lot of stuff on my desk. But the thing is, I'm just getting the files caught up. There's some papers down there that are 5 years old now, and since they were written, they've been superseded and rescinded and everything else. This morning when I got the package and that, I opened it up and everything was so nicely wrapped that I just didn't know where to begin. But after I unwrapped everything, I decided I was going to celebrate my birthday just a little bit early. And so what I did is I took the cake that Karen made for me and into the mess hall and invited some of the other officers to come along and help me celebrate my birthday. And what we did is we put the cups together, and I filled them with M&Ms, and I put there were 36 candles in the box, so I put 26 of them in there, and 26 on top of the cake that Karen had sent, pretty well filled it up. And when I lit one of them, the fire almost jumped from one to the other, so it was quite a fire we had going there for a while until I blew them out. And then of course I separated the cake into its 3 sections and cut it in quarters and that, and took out the paper plates and put the cake on the plates, and managed to get some coffee from the mess hall and also some ice cream. So we just put the ice cream on top of the cake, and had the little firemen with fireman baskets there filled with M&Ms, and passed those around, and just sat down and sang happy birthday to me. And well, it was real nice. It's I would have held off until my birthday actually does come about, but because I don't know how long the cake would have stayed in as good a condition as it was in, I decided that it would probably be best if we just go ahead and eat it today. And because over here, I guess, let's see, 15th is a Saturday anyway, and there's usually not too much activity. I'll probably go out that evening and celebrate my birthday with some of the fellows in that here, but of course we won't be eating cake and ice cream. So all in all, it was real nice of Karen to send me these things, and of course she sent me this popcorn and peanut mixture and some mints, and I've pretty well set up as far as the fruit drinks go. So I've got enough to keep me going for a while anyway. Also, I received a letter from Karen today with pictures of both Kim and Carrie in it, and she's right. She wrote in the letter there that we have probably two of the sweetest looking girls in the world in that, and I'll have to agree with her because I think they are too. Carrie looks like she's going to become a flower girl though, so I don't know if that's too good. It's amazing how fast the time has passed. I know since, well, Bill left on the 3 May to go on leave, and he didn't return until, he didn't take the company back over until 3 June, so it was a month there, and I feel as though I accomplished quite a bit in that period of time. I gave a number of Article 15s. I think I totaled 6 of them, and I recommended one for a field grade Article 15. Now, an Article 15 in military terms is simply non-judicial punishment, which means that it's punishment imposed by the company commander on an individual who has committed a violation of the Uniform Code of Military Justice. Now, if the individual of whom I impose a punishment on wants to appeal this, he can do this, and from here it would go to what they call a summary court-martial, which is just an officer of the rank of major or higher, and he listens to the appeal or the plea, and he hears the case, and of course he either his verdict is either guilty or not guilty, and if the fellow is found guilty, well then the punishment is a lot stiffer than what I could possibly give him. And let's see what else happened over that period of time. We also caught one fella who had some suspicious-looking cigarettes in his hand. I just happened to be walking through the barracks and that, and called him over, and I said, "Let me see those." And he showed them to me, and I asked him if I could have them. I was going to take them anyway, but he was quite agreeable in that. Of course, I confiscated them, locked them in the company safe, and took them down to the Criminal Investigation Division the following day, and they sent them on to Japan. I haven't received a report yet, but I think, and I'm pretty sure it is marijuana, simply because we looked under a microscope in that, and we could see it had all the characteristics of marijuana. This is what the criminal investigator told me. So they're now being analyzed for marijuana. The thing is, this type of case is so hard to prove because possession is only part of the proof. The rest of the proof has to lie on that is made on the fact that the person knowingly has in his possession marijuana, and of course that's a hard thing to prove because all the fellow has to do is say, "Gee, I didn't know it was marijuana," or something to this effect, and of course the cases can be thrown out. But I warned him not to go AWOL. I couldn't restrict him in any way except to take his pass privilege away, and finally one night he disappeared, and he disappeared for a whole day, and when he came back I immediately put some paperwork together and recommended that he be given a field grade Article 15. Now this field grade Article 15 can be given by anyone with the rank of major, lieutenant colonel, or full colonel, and the punishment, of course, is a lot stiffer than I could possibly give them as being a company grade officer, which involves just the 3 ranks of second lieutenant, first lieutenant, and captain. So all in all, it was quite an experience for myself, and I must say a very enjoyable experience. And of course, after Bill returns to the States in October, I'll have the company until I come home in December. Unless, of course, somebody else of a higher rank comes into the company, and hopefully by that time I'll be a first lieutenant, so the fellow would have to have either a date of rank greater than mine, or he'd have to have the rank of captain. But that's not too likely, because like myself and like the other two officers in the company, we came directly from Fort Lee, so this is how they've been working this thing over here in the past, and I guess that they will continue to do so because of the shortage of captains, as most of your company commanders in Vietnam are captains, and of course they have all the people in their company that they should have. So what we say is that they're at full TO&E, which is table of organization and equipment. They're up to 100% or 105% in some cases. So, all in all, it's been a fast month for myself, and now I find we're already tomorrow will be the 6th of June, and so consequently, just a year ago, I entered the Army at Fort Lee there, or I was given credit as having come on active duty 6th June because of the distance between Chicago and Fort Lee. So tomorrow will means that I've served 1 year for Uncle Sam, and it has been a fast year, and an experience that I feel that really no one has any complaints about, because for myself it has been rewarding in some ways, and of course it has probably stifled my growth for the time being in other ways, being that I wasn't able to work at General Foods, but of course this in no way impairs what job I did have before I left to go in the Army, and it's really something that everybody should do and should be expected of doing, is serving at least 2 years in the active Army. After all, it is a small price to pay for the freedom we do have. I couldn't ask for better weather over here, and that, as I mentioned in my letters to Karen, the weather at night has been cool, and the days have been warm, up into the high 70s or low 80s, but it has been a very pleasant type spring so far. Not too much in the way of cold air or anything. The sun here is hot, but the air is relatively cool, and if there's any breeze at all, you do feel a little bit chilled even in the day. But at night it's just ideal for sleeping. We have not had too much rain either, and of course the rice farmers need this rain in order to grow their crops. What happens is that they usually initiate the growth of their crops by planting the seeds and into an area where it can be covered with water, and the rice grows into seedlings, and then what they do is they transplant these into a field, into plowed fields, and of course the rice I would guess requires quite a bit of rain. And from what I understand of people who have been here through the harvest season, the country is quite beautiful when it is covered with rice just prior to harvest, which comes sometime in October. This is a very poor country in that, and of course there is a smell here and that, but you get used to it after a while, unless you go through an area that's really, really bad. What makes it bad primarily is the fact that in these villages, especially the villages I talk about that surround the compounds and that, they have no means of sanitation and that, and of course all their waste and that manages to wind up along the main road and that, and into what you might call a drainage ditch. And then from there they just remove it in honey buckets and that, and dump it into the field. I say the Army, and that procures a lot of food from local farmers and that, but of course this food has to be raised with artificial fertilizers. It cannot be raised with human waste, due to the fact that I don't think there's a person in this country who probably doesn't have one type of disease or another, whether it be tuberculosis, malaria, hoof and mouth disease, trichinosis, hookworm, or what have you. I don't think there's a person who is in this country, unless they've come from a very high-class family, and that who is completely free of any of these diseases. And so what happens, the food they eat, it just becomes infested with whatever they've got growing in their bodies, and it comes out in their waste, and they go to dump it on the field, and it starts the whole process all over again. So this is one of the stipulations that the Army has put down here, and that's the fact that the only crops that we will procure from local producers are those that have been raised with artificial fertilizers. And going back to the way this country smells, and that it's not too bad at times. As a matter of fact, the other night the I guess you might call them lilac bushes came into bloom, and that, and it was just a real perfumey odor in the air, and that it was really I could with the breeze blowing through my room and that it just smelled good all evening and that. And of course, as we go into the hills and that, you can smell the pine trees that grow on the sides or the slopes of the hills in back of our compound. And so there are a few good smells here in Korea. But going back to these villages and that, well, it's just one house crowded on top of another, and of course, as I said, there's no real means of sanitation here. I don't know what these people are worried about here. They're worried about taking government loans and that,